Hello, F Major's biggest fan here. Today, I am going to list the season 4 episodes from worst to best. But I'm not just going to rank the episodes, I'm going to rate them too. If you want to know how I'm going to rate them, I'm going to rate them using 9-letter grades. It'll be just like the grading scale that schools in Plotagon City and Michael City use. The letter grades from best to worst are U, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, and W. Let me tell you what each letter means. Let's start with the letter U. If an episode receives a U, then that episode is a masterpiece. That episode is amongst the best episodes of the show. I would be extremely proud of that episode. You have to watch it. If an episode receives an S, then that episode was an excellent episode. Sure, it's not one of the best episodes of the show, but it was still amazing. I admire episodes with an S rating. If an episode receives an A, then it's great. Not amazing, but great. I would recommend episodes like this. If an episode receives a B, then it was good. Nothing too amazing about this episode, so it's just good. If an episode receives a C, then it's neither good or bad. Even though a C is average, I think I can do better than this. If an episode receives a D, then it was pretty bad. Not terrible, but still bad. I wouldn't recommend episodes like this. If an episode gets an E, then it was an awful episode. I haven't seen that many videos on YouTube that I would give an E, so that's good. But, if I do make an episode like that, then I hope that I learn from my mistakes and improve. If an episode gets an F grade, then it was terrible. I would hate it and be ashamed of making an episode like that. And now, the last letter grade is a W means that the episode was total crap and I don't ever want to watch IT ever again. That episode was one of the worst episodes ever. Please, don't watch episodes with a W. You probably wouldn't like it either. Now that you know what each rating means, let's rank the season 4 episodes. But before we go on, I do want to remind you that there are spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, please watch these episodes before coming back to this video. But you can also read the description to see my opinions. So without further ado, let's get started. As you guys know, this was the last episode of the Nope Keys before I went on a hiatus. Therefore, there was a 2-year gap between episode 30 and episode 31. If you watch this episode along with the earlier episodes, then I had a different style of making episodes back then. Anyways, this episode was above average. What I like about the episode are the parts where E minor messes with the script of the episode. And also, it introduces one of my favorite scales to the show. However, F Lydian looked very different than he does now. I'm glad I changed his look, because I used to have a lot of characters with their hair dyed red. Not to mention he had that default male hairstyle, the one I have right now. Also, this episode didn't really have a conflict other than F sharp minor disobeying F sharp major and E minor crashing U major's car. Speaking of that, I don't know why I let F sharp major restrict F sharp minor from eating more than 3 slices of bacon. Also, why was F Lydian on the plane by himself when he was only 5 years old? I mean, this isn't Japan. This is America. So overall, this episode was above average in my opinion. It's something you can't expect from someone with that kind of style of making videos. It could have been a C-, but the parts involving E minor screwing up the episode brings this episode to a C+. Even though this episode wasn't necessarily bad, it's still my least favorite episode of the season. So in this episode, we learned that racist Rachel is DMX Lydian's girlfriend. They belong together because they are both troublemakers. But, the reason why this episode was so low is because this episode could have been better. All racist Rachel did was mess up the living room, set the kitchen on fire, steal a car, and damage electronics. This was already done in earlier episodes. I mean, there was already an episode involving someone stealing a car earlier this season. This may explain why this episode was only 14 minutes. But what makes this episode better than episode 30 is that at least this episode is a better conflict. Also, I was able to use music that I've never used before. And I love the way racist Rachel laughs. Overall, this episode was pretty good in my opinion. Could have been better, but still pretty good. Wouldn't it be nice if Mixolydian was a nice person for once? But not only was he nicer than before, but he likes to be around his family a little too much for some reason. Well, I did like the part where Mixolydian was arguing with the rest of his family during the thunderstorm. And I also liked the part where he kept breaking lamps. And this is the first time in a while that I put one of my friends in an episode. And also, there was the part where Dorian was getting creeped out after hearing that Mixolydian wanted to come to school with her. However, that's the reason why this episode is so low on this list. I feel like the ending of this episode was rushed. But this episode was still a good episode. There's still racism around the world. I don't know who came up with the idea to be racist, but it is to stop. Racist Rachel is a character that portrays someone that's racist. A racist person may treat some of you unfairly and try to hide the fact that they're racist. Anyways, I like this episode. I liked how racist Rachel became more and more angry every time a black character comes to Bonnie's. And I also like the fact that racist Rachel got what she deserved. Also, this episode introduces a whopping 9 new characters. And Dorian Flat 2 also has a southern accent, which I also like. He's generally a calm person too. Speaking of personalities, this episode shows how sweet Dorian and Epheline are. However, I did have to make 2 different versions of this episode, because the original had a script error that really bothered me. Dorian Flat 2 was supposed to get his food for free, but he didn't in the original version. But thank God I fixed that error in the second version. If I didn't fix it, then the episode would have received a B- or C+. But since I did fix it, it gets a B. But the reason why this episode is so low is because the other episodes are better in my opinion. I had a little bit of trouble deciding whether to put this episode on number 12 or number 11. And as you can see, this is number 11. This episode is something in common with episode 34. Both episodes involve someone changing or trying to change another person's personality. I like the plot of the episode, and I like that we get to learn new things about the characters. For example, Lydian has a boyfriend named Jason. She's Dutch, Swedish, Irish, Danish, German, Norwegian, and Icelandic, and Mixolydian has an outie belly button. That doesn't occur often since most adults have any belly buttons. And this is the first episode that mentions the parents of the Nope Keys. There are some mysteries that have yet to be revealed about their parents. I might get questions like why does Lydian have hundreds to thousands of siblings? Or when will her parents appear in the show? Those questions will be answered a season or 2 later. But anyways, this is a good episode. What a coincidence. This episode was listed as number 10 while being the 10th episode of the season. Anyways, this episode was the shortest episode of the season. But that doesn't make this episode bad. No, not at all. The only reason that was a problem for episode 35 is because episode 35 could have had more to it. This episode was nice actually. We don't get to see E minor that much this season. But at least we get to see him at least thrice during this season. I like how E major, B major, and B minor work together to find what's causing scary things to happen. I like how E12 tone chromatic was furious after E major accidentally threw cold water at him, and I like how E major got his revenge at the end of the episode. By the way, the part where they throw water was inspired by a SpongeBob SquarePants episode called Pranks a Lot. I don't think there's anything I don't like about this episode, which was good. Anyways, this was a nice episode overall. As some of you know, this is Nate's second appearance in the show, which I like. I like how C. Mixolydian gets furious because of Nate acting like he didn't see any headphones, and I like that he fought with C. Mixolydian. And G Minor also gets a cameo in the episode. We haven't seen her since episode 20. However, the only thing I didn't like about this episode is that there's another script error. C. Mixolydian was supposed to say Michael Rectangle 12 Deluxe, not Michael Rectangle 11 Plus. I was originally going to put that, but it sounds too similar to how iPhones are named. But overall, this is a nice episode. This episode was pretty extreme compared to most episodes. But I don't think that's a bad thing. First off, I think I did well with D. Mixolydian and Adorian's disguises. They looked devastating, and you wouldn't be able to tell it was them aside from D. Mixolydian's voice. Also, the episode is lots of suspense, drama, and action. Well actually, D. Mixolydian had two disguises, the Olydian disguise and the disguise with the hockey mask. Speaking of disguises, I like how the crowd booed at both of D. Mixolydian's disguises. I also like how the episode was grayscale when the footage was shown. And my favorite part was the part where D. Lydian was furious when D. Mixolydian told her that he didn't pick up their siblings and when she drove faster than she usually would to the school. However, when a Bebop Major assumed that Adorian was dead, that made some of you think she was actually dead when she wasn't. Guys, I won't kill off any of the main characters. Overall, I love this episode. Beefragine is a character that we don't see often, so I'm happy he has a major role in this episode. I like how he misbehaves in this episode, I like how E minor keeps annoying B minor, and I like how B minor keeps getting mad in this episode. And it was pretty funny when Beefragine flushed his food down the toilet. And I also like how E minor and B minor argue over GTA 6 yet again. Also, there's a twist at the end where E minor called B major and told him that Beefragine escaped the house even though he claims that he'll keep it a secret. And I also like how I used the force scene for the first time. Overall, this was a great episode. As some of you know, Nate is a character made by my friend Benjamin. I'm very proud of this episode. I even used references from some of Benjamin's videos like Nate's song and the I'm going home now so I can take a crap line. I know one thing that Nate and D. Mixolydian have in common, they're troublemakers. I was thinking about putting Clyde, who appears in Simon's videos, in a future episode after I get permission. This is another episode made for a friend, this time, it's Charlie. He thought it was awesome, and I did too. Since the two words pizza rolls were said together so many times, I decided to make a challenge, which was to find out how many times the words pizza rolls were said. I don't think anyone got it right yet. This episode is one of the few times an episode ends happily. Well, not for D. Mixolydian. I wasn't expecting this episode to be 33 minutes long. This is quite similar to that SML episode, where Junior gets mad at Cody for breaking his helicopter by accident, and smashes the project that Cody made. And it's also similar to another episode where Junior's drawing causes a fire at his school. I like how Dorian and C. Lydian wouldn't cooperate with a harmonic minor, and I like how a D. Mixolydian clone suddenly appeared in the office. I wonder where he came from. This episode was amazing. Ah yes, Thanksgiving. A holiday that involves family and friends coming together to eat a huge dinner. I'm really happy with this Thanksgiving special. If it wasn't for that 2-year gap between this episode and the previous episode, then it wouldn't be as amazing as it is in my opinion. I like how a Bebop Major was the narrator for the second half of the episode, and my favorite part was when Adorian causes a huge fight between a harmonic minor and her own friend D. Mixolydian. Wow, I'm really great at making holiday specials, aren't I? This episode was partially inspired by Mario Bitron. He had a Christmas special too, and I loved it so much. I like how everyone gradually gets more and more angry. And I also like that twist at the end where it turns out that it was Demyxylidian's fault that both Delidian and the Bebop Major's heating systems were broken. Alright, let's get ready for number 1. It's an episode that really stands out. It's really epic and dramatic. Can you guess what it is? Alright, let's reveal the number 1 spot. Yeah, the season 4 finale is my favorite episode of season 4. I wasn't expecting it to be 88 minutes. There are so many things I love about this episode. I like the fact that Demyxylidian killing Defragine was just a dream, and I also like him getting furious over a C+. Defragine throwing an egg at Demyxylidian. When Delidian and Demyxylidian reveal their real names. When Demyxylidian makes his younger siblings late for school. The dramatic plot of the episode, and more. What stands out in this episode is when Demyxylidian puts on Delidian's swimsuit. That part was inspired by Sis vs. Bro. And I also liked the ending as well. It involved everyone except Demyxylidian moving in with Jason so Demyxylidian would spend his time with racist Rachel and won't bother the other 3 anymore. What a great way to end season 4. From now on, Delidian, Dorian, and Defragine will live with Jason instead of Demyxylidian, and Demyxylidian will live with racist Rachel. This episode was meant to be extremely dramatic and sad, and I've accomplished that. So yeah, not only is this the best season 4 episode in my opinion, but this is my favorite episode of the Nope Keys so far. Now that we rated all the season 4 episodes, let's give season 4 an overall rating. Season 4 was a great season overall. Is it better than the other 3 seasons? Absolutely. Sure, the first episode fits well with the other 3 seasons despite being in the 4th season, but the other 14 episodes of the season had a very different style. A better one. I hope season 5 will be great too. Alright guys, now that season 4 is over, can you guys let me know what you think about every episode of season 4? I would prefer you to use the same scale I used to rate each episode. An example comment will be in the description. I know I haven't done videos rating the other 3 seasons, but I will do that eventually. And I'll be sure to do one for season 5 after I finish it. And expect me to have a new look for season 5 since I'm planning to give F Major a new look. And I'm also giving other characters new looks like I do every season. I've had this look since 2017. Okay guys. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell. May God bless every single one of you. See you in the next video.